about what you want to see. Do you want to see Florida build off its success, or do you want to hand a junta in the Florida House to sabotage that success? I think I know where most people are going to come down on that. Thanks, everybody. God bless.
Governor DeSantis wrapping up that roundtable by answering some questions about the House and lawmakers. We know some of their stance on property taxes and the questions over that. The governor has also been very critical about the House's proposal that included sales tax cuts. And because of that, that has kind of sparked this chain reaction to where we have now learned just in the last probably half hour that the framework for a budget deal in Tallahassee has really blown up. This is a memo that the House Speaker, Danny Perez, sent to members of the House of Representatives last night, and basically talking about how the Senate has decided, the Senate President, Ben Albritton, has decided not to bring the House's tax proposal to the Senate floor. You see there, as I'm sure you can appreciate, this blew up the framework for the budget deal we had negotiated. Now, lawmakers were scheduled to return to Tallahassee next week to kind of finish up these negotiations, pass this budget. That is now not going to happen, at least it sounds like, because things are kind of back. I don't know if they're at square one, but they are definitely not where they were. You see from this memo, Danny Perez saying, as a result, we'll be in touch with alternative dates as soon as possible. They are still going to meet on Tuesday to hold a floor session to pass a concurrent resolution extending the timeline through the end of June. We will also hold a meeting of the Select Committee on property taxes. So the budget deal has blown up as a result of some of this pushback from the governor saying he would veto the House's tax cut plan because of that sales tax cut that the governor says is not Florida first. And so we will see where things go from here. We're going to stay on the story, and we'll have updates later on in Florida Live. Right now, though, we are going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, and we'll be right back after this. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Brooks Garner joins me now. And Brooks, we know those storm chances are continuing again today.
Yeah, they are, Garrett. Today's a Fox 35 storm alert day because we've got a real threat for severe weather this afternoon. thanks to the sea breeze once again colliding. But this time, with a little bit of extra heat and humidity, those storms could be a little bit stronger. We're talking damaging wind gusts over 60 miles per hour, even the possibility of large hail up to quarter size. Now, the best chance for rain holding off until 5 o'clock. So for most of the day today, we're going to be okay. No problems for school and school pickup. It's just going to be for the commuters from 5 to about 7 o'clock. Maybe you're heading out to a Friday dinner, get ready for some rain. This is how it works out. We're going to have the sea breeze developing on the Atlantic side, which could bring a couple of showers to Titusville around 2 o'clock. And this model is showing that we may get a downpour about 2 o'clock in, say, Winter Park and also into Oviedo. But the highest chance for rain is going to hold off until later in the afternoon, probably closer to 5, 6 o'clock, just in time for the evening commute. Storms will continue through dinner time, and just like yesterday, most of the action will be along I-4. However, later on this evening, we may see some of this encroaching finally into the villages in Ocala. Those are two places that have been left largely untouched by the rain, while other areas, like in Seminole County, have seen upwards of 5 inches of rain in the last 2 days. Now, if you don't get rain today, and you probably will, but if you don't, we've got another chance for it through the weekend and especially into early next week. Now, the biggest storm threats today will be damaging wind gusts and hail, but there's also an outside threat for a tornado. Sometimes as the storms interact, they can produce unusual winds that can cause spinning in the atmosphere, but it would be a very tertiary threat, very outside threat. So, looking ahead to the weekend, another shot at more beneficial rain. This is the shot for Saturday. Saturday morning will be A-OK, although we'll have a lot of clouds around. It's Saturday around sunset that we may see some storms developing. Once again, I-4 would be your best shot for them. And then looking ahead to Mother's Day, another day where for the most part we'll be free of rain during the day, but during the evening and at night we may start to catch some storms, although with this front lingering now offshore in the Gulf and approaching cold front, it may pull a lot of that rain offshore with it, leaving us dry. So it's an uncertain setup on Sunday. We'll get about a 50-50 shot. But just like an ocean wave pulls the water out before it crashes ashore, that could be Sunday, Mother's Day, where it's kind of pulling the water out into the Gulf. It's going to come ashore with some heavy rain Monday afternoon and Monday evening with what could be some strong to severe storms, even some flash flooding. So that's going to be a day to watch for sure. Before then, though, or I should say after that point, we're going to sort of clear the decks and have a dry period. That said, before the front comes through, clearing us out for a dry middle of next week, we're going to catch some rain. Rain totals which could eclipse 5 inches in spots. It's hard to say where exactly that'll happen, but it looks like at least a widespread 1 to 2 inches between now and Tuesday. So as I mentioned, like Ocala, Gainesville, you could see 2-3 inches of rain easily between now and then. So don't lose faith here. We're going to get some rain, and we need it desperately because we're in the midst of this extreme drought in red. See that? The red with severe drought in Orlando. Now here's the irony. While we've been talking about the drought relentlessly, as relentless as this drought has been over the last couple of months, the driest weather in the better part of a decade, ironically, we're going to be looking at a flash flood threat on Monday. So that is kind of amazing how you can go from drought to suddenly talking about flooding, but that's also Florida weather. So here we go, the latest information. Today's a Fox 35 storm alert day for the anticipation of severe weather this afternoon. Tomorrow's an impact day because we may be impacted Saturday evening, Saturday night, though most of the day should be okay. On Sunday, it's kind of a 50-50 chance for some rain on Mother's Day. Listen, I would not cancel plans this weekend outside. I would just keep a very close eye on what the clouds are doing after lunch, just like you would in the summertime. If you start to see clouds building, assume that a storm could be brewing. Make sure you check out your Fox 35 Storm Team app, the free app where you can see your local radar, and stay close to Fox 35 all weekend long. That's going to be your best bet. I'm thinking about you. If you're heading out on a boat or something like that, just make sure you have a plan to head back to port or head back to the boat ramp without too much time elapsing. You know, don't go too far away from the boat ramp in the afternoons with storms brewing. The biggest threat for rain, though, over the next 7 days will happen on Monday, about an 80% chance. And that'll be Monday afternoon, Monday evening, and Monday night before we clear the decks for a dry middle of next week. So, Garrett, some welcome rain is on the way in what has been quite the pattern change, but we've got to keep our eyes peeled for strong storms this afternoon.
And Brooks, it is kind of wild to hear you talk about flooding threats when we've had, when we've just like totally just kind of flipped the switch here.
It's amazing. There's an old phrase, every Florida drought is ended by a Florida flood.
Ah, okay. Well, that hopefully does not hold true here, but certainly something to watch for. Hopefully
that doesn't happen. Yeah, Monday would be the day, by the way, but it would be probably just nuisance flash flooding. It doesn't look like it's going to be a a major deal for us. But some
right.
welcome rain for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Brooks Garner, we appreciate you joining us.
You got it. My pleasure as always, Garrett. See you next week.
Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Brooks Garner. And as we go to break here on Fox 35 News Plus, give you a live look at downtown Orlando. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday morning. The cost to keep the Dreamers alive is likely increasing. That's because of a rise in construction costs. And so officials, leaders with the organization trying to bring Major League Baseball to Orlando says the final cost of a Major League Baseball stadium in Orlando could now hit $2 billion. Fox 35's Manny Martinez spoke last night with Jim Schnorf, who is the Orlando Dreamers co-founder.
$2 billion for a ballpark when construction would start. Is that just the cost of doing business these days?
Well, the original cost estimate from 2 years back was $1.675 billion. And if you look forward and say it's likely a minimum of 12 to 24 months under the soonest scenario where construction would start, basically looking at about 4 years. And so our belief is, costs will go up modestly. We think with our design, we're protected against, grievous type increases. But if you said it was $2 billion, a full $2 billion, that's 18%, over 4 years on a compounded basis. It's only about 4% or so a year. So, we think the smart thing to do is to assume there will be some cost increases. We don't think that'll be something that makes it very difficult for us to get this built, but we're going to build in what we think are realistic assumptions so that we don't get any unpleasant surprises.
Prior planning prevents poor performance, right? That's the 5 Ps.
Absolutely the case. We've taken a measured approach with everything we've done. We've run lots of financial models and sensitivity analysis. So we think the right thing to do is to assume it is going to be higher than 1.675 billion, but we don't think it'll be dramatically higher.
Was looking at the list of stadiums in the U.S. that have cost at least $2 billion. That would put this ballpark in some pretty rarefied air. I only found 5 others, one of them including the Cathedral of Baseball in Yankee Stadium. So there's a good competition when it comes to building stadiums these days.
We're going to have a very innovative design. We've utilized the top architect for sports stadiums in the world, Populous. Been very, very impressed with some of the cutting edge design and technologies that they've recommended. So everything we have done has been about having best in class partners. We think that's the right approach. Now, we're going to be financially prudent with our design. For example, we elected not to include a retractable roof because we looked at the incremental cost, and given weather patterns in Orlando during baseball season, how many days or nights a year would we really have that roof open where it would be comfortable for our fans? And it comes down, that's a pretty pricey experience. You look out, it might be $750,000 to $1 million a game over 20 years to add that retractable roof for how many games we would actually have it open. So that's an example of, we think, being financially prudent while still having, what we think will be the most state-of-the-art designed baseball stadium.
Now, yesterday, Visit Orlando announced that 75 million people visited the area in 2024. And after that event, Fox 35's Ryan Elijah spoke with Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings about his thoughts on a potential public-private partnership when it comes to building that stadium, bringing Major League Baseball to Orlando and putting that stadium down near SeaWorld and Aquatica.
Final question, a lot of people getting excited about the baseball prospect. You as leaders can't say a whole lot, but what's your take on what's transpired?
I'm open to the conversation. The conversation has to work both for the ownership groups, and it has to work best for our community. That means that I'm very interested in seeing how much the ownership groups will bring to the table, how many dollars they will bring to the table to make it a reality. And if it doesn't have the right balance, then it won't see the light of day here. If it has the right balance, there's a chance.
The number they put up and having Barry Larkin on, does that help kind of move Orlando forward a little bit?
I think day by day, the ownership group grows and the seriousness of what they're dealing with. And so I'm just letting that happen very organically.
And the organization, the Orlando Dreamers, recently unveiled their key investors, including the anchor investor, Dr. Rick Workman, who's the founder of Heartland Dental. And another big investor in it is John Morgan. And Fox 35's John Brown had the chance recently to speak with John Morgan about why he wanted to get involved.
Number one, I know Central Florida pretty well. I have shopping centers, I have apartment complexes, I have attractions, I have hotels. I know the area. What I know about the area is this. This is the tourist capital of the world. The Magic are always a top 10 in attendance, even though they're one of the sorriest franchises in the history of all sports. Why? Tourists. People come here from Boston, New York, Los Angeles, everywhere, and they want to see their team play. That's why the Magic do so well. There are tens of millions of people that come here. National advertisers buy local advertising in Orlando because of the tourists. The differentiator for me, it's like Las Vegas, moving the Raiders to Las Vegas, a no-brainer. They're going to make a fortune. So if you can buy this team at what it's worth today in Tampa, which is not, I wouldn't do, the Tampa people called me to invest. I said no. They said, why? I said, because it's in Tampa. I think it's a loser. Jeb Bush, who's a friend of mine, and I've invested with Jeb in other things. When he wanted to do the Marlins, I said, no, Jeb, not Miami. It's no good. it not only will thrive here, it will be one of the hottest baseball tickets ever. It can't, to me, it can't fail.
All right, so I talked with Pat Williams before I moved, right? So we're talking 10 years ago when he had this idea, and I've seen it come, I've seen it go. Why do you think this time we're so close to getting it done?
I don't think we're necessarily close, but we know this. We're at an inflection point. The Tampa Bay Rays are not playing in their stadium. The stadium's finished. It's over. They can't go back there. Okay, so there's a fork in the road. And to keep in baseball, as Yogi Berra said, when you come to the fork in the road, take it. But which fork is the question? So they're at a fork in the road. Do they move it and keep it in Tampa, or do they move it and make it more successful in Orlando? That's why it might happen. The reason it might not happen is that the owner might not sell it and he may want to keep it there. I don't know. But this is the moment that Pat was looking for. This is the inflection point. They're playing in Steinbrenner Stadium in a minor league field this year. It's a dead franchise with no stadium. So they got to do something. They got to say Orlando or Tampa. So we've come to the fork in the road, and I'm saying let's take the road to Orlando.
We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday morning live on Fox Local, fox35orlando.com, and also on YouTube. Florida Attorney General James Othmeyer was in Tampa this morning giving the keynote address at the 2025 Florida Crime Prevention Summit. He talked about the importance of holding scammers accountable, talked about protecting children from online predators, and he also gave some numbers and provided some statistics about law enforcement across Florida. These are his remarks from just a little bit ago.
The theme of this mission, preventing crime, ties in very closely to my mission as Attorney General. I believe the Office of Attorney General is to protect our state's most vulnerable. Protecting our seniors, our elderly, the people that left this state, this country, better for us than they found it. And we've got a lot of them in the state, and we're going to fight like hell to protect them as everybody wants to come in and cheat and steal and scam. If you're getting these text messages about fees. Please don't click it. It's a fraud. We're trying to crack down. It's like whack-a-mole. Every time we get one, they pop up somewhere else. But we want to protect our seniors and make sure that they are safe and that nobody is taking advantage of them. Our most vulnerable are our children. We have to protect our children. And today we see dangerous people coming after our kids in ways like never before. And that is because of the expansion of technology and the internet, these dang cell phones. We are seeing dozens and dozens of examples just in the last few months that I've been in this job of predators pretending to be other people, deceiving our kids. They get online, they use these applications like Snapchat, and they prey upon our kids. They lure them in, they talk to them, they pretend to be 12-year-olds themselves, and at the end of the day, they start soliciting pictures and even in the worst cases, meetings. We have to protect our kids. We have to educate our kids, we have to empower our kids, and we have to protect our kids. Here in the state, we have placed a great emphasis on education. We were the first state to have fully funded universal school choice to make sure that every student could go to the school that best meets their needs, and that's for every family. And in schools, we've really pushed to make sure the curriculum is not teaching some social agenda, but focused on empowering kids to move on, succeed, and provide for their own families. So we've really focused on the classics, on financial literacy, and on STEM programs that will make sure students can graduate and they have the skills that equip them to move on, succeed, and provide for their families, because there is no greater honor than to move on and provide for a family. And today in Florida, we see a positive trend. The results from our Florida incident-based reporting system show that crime figures dropped last year again, and this is on top of a 50-year crime low. As I've been traveling around and meeting police chiefs and sheriffs, I'm every day going into jurisdictions where they report that for the first time in a long time, they don't have a single homicide to report last year. This is not an accident. This is not a coincidence. This is because of the work that you are doing. Please give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you. There's no way to quantify every crime that occurs, but I will tell you this. The statistics on our law enforcement responses are unbelievable. We have the best law enforcement officers in the state. And they will tell you that when they respond to crimes, they are doing their job. They will tell you that they are following their protocols and that they are doing what they're supposed to be doing. They will tell you they are not heroes, they are just doing their job. Do not let them get away with it. Our law enforcement officers, those of you in this room, thank you for being here. You guys are heroes. You stand in the gap. You stand on the line between chaos and order, between lawlessness and justice. You stand between right and wrong. It was great during COVID as jurisdictions around the country were defunding the police. We had a really good idea. We were getting so many calls and emails from officers in other states, many in California, saying, thank you for standing by law enforcement. We put our lives on the line. We stick our necks out. And to have government officials that don't appreciate that want to defund it, prosecutors that don't want to bring cases, it makes us wonder why we do what we do. Well, so we started our own recruitment and bonus program to bring law enforcement officials into Florida. If they're somewhere else and they're not appreciated, we want them here. And so we've been able to bring in almost 20,000 law enforcement officers from other states through this program. And as a result, we've saved tens of millions of dollars on training and efforts to get new people in. We'll have to probably refocus on that down the road. But the reality is we have the best law enforcement in the country because we understand the importance of our officers. We will be the safest state to raise a family. And that is not a slogan. That is not a bumper sticker. It is a fact. And it is a fact, it is a promise that we are only able to deliver on because of you. Thank you. And you all aren't just responding to crimes, you are preventing them. One example that somebody recently shared with me was the police officers in Sarasota. They saw many underprivileged students in a community who were literally typing up homework and things on cell phones because they did not have computers. And they were getting to school early, trying to find ways to print from cell phones. Officers noticed this problem. So they got together in the community, they stepped in, and they secured donations to provide iPads and computers. And that community, since the program was begun, has seen a 38% reduction in crime. That is true results. That's law enforcement going above and beyond. That is not just charity, that is strategy. What you are doing is working. So we got to focus on the kids. They've got more dangers than ever before surrounding them. They need to see leadership. They need to see role models. They need mentorship. And if we can empower them and give them hope to go forward and achieve and provide for others, again, there's no greater gift than to provide for your own family and your own friends. If we can give that to them, we will continue to reduce crime. Let me also include that the people in this room, when hurricanes have come up, have been the first to jump up and help. And we've been hit by a lot over the last couple of years. We pray that maybe this is an easier year, but we have to be prepared for the worst. Our first responders and community leaders here, when others get to run away from disaster, you all have run towards it. Thank you. It's a way of life here in Florida, and if not for you, we would suffer much more harm. So thank you for being there for your communities.
We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus, live look at the Vatican, where yesterday, a big day, a historic day, as Pope Leo XIV was named and becoming the first American to be elected as Pope. Now, just a little bit ago, a group of American cardinals held a news conference in Rome to talk about the election of Robert Prevost as the first American Pope.
This is not my first conclave. I was in one 12 years ago. What I've discovered in both of them is they are both absolutely unique, since the cardinals come together to elect a successor of St. Peter. That's what they do. And with all of the comments that are made by others, they're all interesting. But we, as cardinals, elect a successor of St. Peter. Right now, we elected someone, I'll be the first to be able to make this comment, who also is an American citizen. He's really a citizen of the entire world, since he has spent so much of his life, ministry, missionary work, and zeal for Christ in South America. He was also privileged to be the head of his religious order. So, all things said, yes, he is American, and yes, he represents the big, big picture of the church.
Jacob, thanks to you, and thanks to our extraordinarily effective United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, and thanks for recognizing Monsignor Powers and the glowing hospitality of the North American College here, the American Seminary in Rome. Was my mic on? I better put that commercial in again if that didn't pick up. Yeah, first of all, you're asking me about my impression. The impression is, and again, like Cardinal DiNardo, I was honored to be here 12 years ago, the amazing moment of enthusiasm, unity, hope, and promise. You were there in the square yesterday. Just the electricity. Nobody does drama like the one Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. And all over, so I get a text from Charlie, my great nephew, who was born the day Pope Francis was elected. Uncle Tim, we're all watching the white smoke. We're all cheering Pope Leo, and we're all crying. And please, we're glad you weren't Pope, so am I, so you can come back home. There's that enthusiasm from the mouth of a 12-year-old. Secondly, though, I would agree with Cardinal DiNardo. The fact that he was born in the United States of America, boy, that's a sense of pride and gratitude for us. I think he's a Peruvian citizen. I think during his missionary years in Peru, he so fell in love with the people. I think he was there 3 decades, Cardinal Tobin, and so he became a Peruvian citizen. He's a citizen of the world. He reminds us that we all have our true citizenship in heaven, as St. Paul taught us, and that is his role as universal pastor. Where he comes from is sort of now a thing of the past. You know, Robert Francis Prevost is no longer around. It's now Pope Leo. That's why Jesus changed the name of the first pope, right? You're no longer Simon. Your name is Peter. So he's a new person. He's our Holy Father. He's the successor of Peter. He's the father of the Church Universal. Where he came from, secondary.
Well, this is my first conclave and my first press conference after a conclave, and I think it's always great to bat third in the order because they put the really fast guys out in front of you. You know, so I had a moment to prepare, and I guess my first experience of the conclave was its starkness. You know, it's a meeting that's a lot more than a meeting that's coming. It happens after a period of mourning, which I don't think is really finished yet, but you know, a period of mourning and things that were part of our lives. Any device that could transmit was taken from us. Any connection with the wider world. Now, we had that for a few weeks when we listened to each other talk about what each cardinal present, and not only the voting cardinals, but any cardinal that could still get into the meeting room, talked about for the weeks before the conclave. What does the church need? What's the world need? What are we hoping for? What are we dreaming about? So it was starkness followed by expectation. Now we know something's going to happen eventually, and in some ways the voting is like watching a glacier move. but sometimes glaciers under stress move a lot faster. I really think that we were not simply counting on the forces that were within that room. We were remembering that it's the Holy Spirit who brings the church together. And it's the Holy Spirit who makes reconciliation possible. And it's the Holy Spirit who calls forth and indicates. And so we just needed to be sensitive to that. And then I saw that kind of reflected in the former Cardinal Bob Prevost, who I've known for about 30 years, worked with him. After one of the ballots, you know, you carry your ballot to the front of the hall, you deposit it, and you say a few words in Latin to say, I'm standing before God, and Michelangelo reminds you of our ultimate destiny. And as best as I can say, this is the one that I think is indicated. Then I walked back and I took a look at Bob, and because his name had been floating around. And he had his head in his hands. And I was praying for him because I couldn't imagine what happens to a human being when you're facing something like that. And then when he accepted it, it was like he was made for it.
This is my first conclave, and I hope my last. So viva el Papa. But one of the things that I come away with is, just imagine, we were over 130 people with different languages, cultures, backgrounds, from more than 70 countries. And within 24 hours, we were able to come to unity in making a decision. I hope that's a signal to the world that we can reach across our differences in culture, language, country, nationality, and work together to solve the problems that are there, that we have the opportunity to reconcile and have peace. And I think it's instructive that Pope Leo began his message to people in the square by offering them the peace of Christ. So I saw this as really a spiritual experience of not only going through the motions of praying for the Holy Spirit, singing the Veni Creator, but actually having an experience of how we were able to treat each other with great respect, to listen to each other during the congregations beforehand. And then when it came time for voting, things seemed to just gel and go in a direction that set us on a path of unity.
We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back. continuing to follow this breaking story out of Brevard County, where a 4-year-old has drowned in a pond, found dead in a pond, I should say. Mission Bay Apartments on Merle Road in Rockledge. This is where it is, off of Vieira Boulevard and I-95 in Rockledge. Just moments ago, we had the chance to speak with Todd Goodyear, Public Information Officer for the Brevard County Sheriff's Office, who gave us some new details and some more information about what happened.
Well, sir, it sounds like this was just a tragedy.
Yes, it is. Unfortunately, we've had a 4-year-old that has passed away. We received a call about 8:30 this morning from a mother who was frantic that said her child had gotten out of the house. Somehow he had unlocked the door. Our units arrived, started searching the grounds of the apartment complex, around the lakes and all that, and at about 9:20, at approximately 9:20 this morning, our aviation unit saw what they thought might be the child. One of our deputies went into the water and recovered the child. He was already deceased and beyond help. So now we're involved in a death investigation. It's active at this point, and we'll see where it leads.
How far was the child
From the door of where he lived?
Yeah.
Around the corner, as my understanding, was around the corner from the apartment he lived in. No, not very far, no. But unfortunately, children are very enamored with water, and we see too many of these where a child will get away and they'll walk toward the water and either slip down the bank or walk in, and once they're in the water, if they don't know how to swim, it usually doesn't turn out very well.
Forgive me if this is already your release, but did the child have autism?
Reportedly, I don't know that for a fact, but reported through dispatch was that he did have autism.
I guess a painful reminder for everyone here in Florida.
Well, we're getting toward the summer months, so people are going to be outside. If you have a young child, there are safety classes that they can take to learn how to at least float on their back, which gives you some time to find them. Young children can learn to swim enough to get to the side, particularly in a pool, get to the pool and walk the pool with their hands to get to the shallow end of the steps. So, it is the best safety mechanism you can do beyond knowing where your child is at all times. And we know that's hard to do sometimes depending on how many children you have and where you're at. But at least to give them the basic swimming safety that they can, get on their back, give you a little extra time to find them, or at least swim and get to the side of wherever they're at and get out.
And I know right now it's open active investigation, but there is no preliminary indications of negligence or anything on any parent's part.
I can't comment to that at this point because we're so early in the investigation, and we'll have to look at whether there's been any calls to DCF, whether we've been out here before. All of those types of things are things that take a while for our investigators to go through and determine if there's a negligence to this or if it's just a unfortunate accident.
Can you talk about what it's like for your deputies to respond and to pull a dead child out of the water? What kind of impact that has on them?
I haven't talked to the deputy that actually went in, but I know from having 3 children myself how I would feel. We had probably, I would say, 30 to 40 deputies and agents out here looking for this child. So that's how important it is to us to try to, and we know that we have to find them quickly. So that there is a sense of getting here quickly. I mean, we had motor units, ag marine, bloodhounds, all of our agents from homicide, special victims, GCU, all came here along with uniformed patrol. So we had a massive amount of people here looking for this child because we want to find him. And unfortunately we found him, but he was deceased. And we're talking with the deputy, seeing if he needs any type of services or any help that we can give him. And he may not think so now, and it may come later, but we will keep an eye on him because it is something. It's very traumatic to find a child. Children aren't supposed to die, and we're very cognizant of that. And talking to them, our crime scene people. We have one going to the autopsy right now at the moment, and we're checking on her to make sure she's okay because they are the toughest autopsies to attend. So we're very cognizant of that. It's a very tough situation, hopefully we don't have to run into that too many more times this summer.
Knock on wood, please.
Certainly a tragedy in Brevard County. We are continuing to follow up on this story, but as you heard from Todd Goodyear with the Brevard County Sheriff's Office, it was less than an hour from the time that 4-year-old boy was reported missing, that he was found dead in that pond, just right around the corner from the apartment where he lived with his family. They do believe that young boy had autism as well. So just a tragic situation there. We're following up on it. And we'll have more later today on Fox 35 News Plus and on Fox 35 News at 5. That's going to do it for us here on Fox 35 News Plus this morning. We'll be back here at 2 with Florida Live. We're also expecting a news conference around 1:45 from the Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd on some arrests made in an assault case. So stay tuned for that. Keep it here on Fox Local. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you soon.